I'm Janda, and in this episode of Behind the Song powered by Chick-fil-A, let's take another look at Pete Townshend's biggest solo hit, and one of many written with his guru in mind, Let My Love Open the Door. This song was first covered in Behind the Song back in 2024, but it certainly wasn't the only song written by Townshend to reach for divine inspiration instead of a worldly one. So let's go a little deeper into some of his other spiritually inclined tunes, and why that whole idea was such an important piece of the creative puzzle for him as an artist. If you like it, give it a follow and hit subscribe. First, let's take a quick look at where Pete Townshend was career-wise and personally in 1980, when his Empty Glass album was released. His third solo album, it was part of a high-pressure contract with Atlantic Records, who were pushing Townshend to establish himself as a solo powerhouse apart from The Who. However, The Who were far from over. Despite the devastating loss of Keith Moon in 1978, the band decided to carry on with Kenny Jones, formerly of The Faces. This was a polarizing move. John Entwistle later admitted the decision to continue so soon was bordering on insanity. Townshend was the engine driving them forward, but he was also unraveling, struggling with substance abuse and marital strain with his wife, Karen Astley. Townshend was essentially living two lives, touring the world with The Who and writing for their next album, Face Dances, while simultaneously writing songs for Empty Glass. When the powers that be at Atlantic Records heard the solo demos, they complained that it didn't sound like The Who. Townshend's response to that was, it wasn't supposed to. Let My Love Open the Door didn't just sound different, it felt different. It traded the crashing power chords of Who songs like Won't Get Fooled Again for shimmering synthesizers and a bouncy rhythm. The personnel reflected this shift. The rhythm section of Tony Butler on bass and Mark Brzezicki on drums would later form the backbone of the Scottish band Big Country, who had their own one-hit wonder in the States in 1983 with In a Big Country. Townshend's Empty Glass album proved the label execs wrong, particularly when it came to Let My Love Open the Door. The single peaked at number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100, incredibly tying The Who's highest ever U.S. chart position from way back in the 60s with I Can See for Miles. Of all the tracks on Empty Glass, Pete Townshend has often downplayed the complexity of this particular hit. In the liner notes for his anthology compilation, he referred to it as just a ditty, but of course it wasn't. It was a song he really had to fight for. At the time of its release, his own manager, Bill Curbishley, actually despised the track. He felt it didn't sound enough like the real Pete Townshend, the guitar-smashing visionary of The Who, and he even pushed to have it removed from the album entirely. It wasn't until the song started climbing the charts and proving its massive pop appeal that his manager finally called him to apologize. But Pete's relationship with the song remains humble. He's admitted that while he's grateful for its success, he doesn't necessarily consider it his best work. In interviews, he shared that he actually preferred the song A Little Is Enough from the same album, which he felt was a more successful blend of his personal emotions and spiritual beliefs. Maybe the most fascinating thing Townshend has said about the song involves who he actually envisions singing the lyrics. While we hear his voice, he has noted that in his mind, the song is sung by God, or more broadly, by a divine presence. It's not a man asking a woman for a chance. It's a spiritual invitation. To Townshend, the love in the lyrics is an infinite divine force waiting to help a person who is struggling. Divine love, not romantic love. Part of Townshend's longtime fascination with the spiritual leader, Meher Baba. Townshend reflected on his guru by saying that from when he first heard about him way back in 1967, he felt he would find a route to perfection by living his life in a way that would please him. He was introduced to the teachings of the Meher Baba by the artist Mike McInerney, who designed the album cover for The Who's Tommy. McInerney said that the commission to make the album art was a consequence of his and Townshend's shared interest in Baba's teachings, whose Philosophy and principal message of love struck the right note for the times and created, in Tommy, a distinct vehicle for the spiritual ideas shared between the two. It's pretty incredible that Townshend never met his guru. Baba passed away in 1969. But you can hear the spiritual influence in the way the lyrics are sung in Let My Love Open the Door. It's repetitive, meditative, a pathway to get a little help when you're struggling. The lyrics go like this. When people keep repeating that you'll never fall in love, when everybody keeps retreating, but you can't seem to get enough, let my love open the door to your heart. When everything feels all over, everybody seems unkind, I'll give you a 4-leaf clover, take all worry out of your mind. Let my love open the door to your heart. Basically, surrendering to a higher power equals freeing oneself from worry, and it goes on. The only key to your heart that can stop you falling apart. Try today, you'll find this way. Come on and give me a chance to say, let my love open the door. It's all I'm living for. Release yourself from misery. There's only one thing going to set you free. That's my love. So to give up the illusion of control is to gain freedom and happiness. And the song ends. When tragedy befalls you, don't let it drag you down. Love can cure your problems. You're so lucky I'm around. Let my love open the door to your heart. Townshend once said that his devotion to Meher Baba crept into his life. But by the early 70s, it had completely colored his creative output. While Let My Love Open the Door is the most famous example of this pop hit hiding a spiritual center, there are several heavy hitters in The Who's catalog and Townshend's solo work that are direct odes to the guru. Going back to 1971, from The Who's next album, there are several such songs. One of them is Bargain. On the surface, it sounds like a high-energy love song, but Townshend wrote it as a literal bargain with God. The opening line, I'd gladly lose me to find you, is a direct reference to the Meher Baba's teaching about losing the ego to find spiritual truth. Townshend once explained that the song is about how much of a bargain it would be to give up all material possessions just to be at one with the divine. And there's Baba O'Reilly, maybe the most famous Who song. The title itself is a kind of hybrid tribute. The Baba comes from Meher Baba, and the Riley comes from the improvisational composer Terry Riley. The electronic pulsing synthesizer track was originally meant to represent a computerized life pattern of Meher Baba himself. Townshend's intent was to translate the guru's spiritual presence into a musical data stream. And we can't forget Behind Blue Eyes, a ballad born from a moment of spiritual discipline. While on tour in 1970, the story goes that Townshend was tempted by a groupie but chose to return to his hotel room alone to uphold Baba's teachings on foregoing earthly temptations. He began writing a prayer that became the song's climax. When my fist clenches, crack it open. It was a moment of choosing spiritual isolation over physical gratification. And then there's O Parvardigar, released on Townshend's solo debut album Who Came First in 1972. The song is essentially Meher Baba's universal prayer set to music, and it's arguably Townshend's most overtly devotional piece. He once joked that by putting the prayer to music, he could get thousands of rock fans to recite it without them even realizing that they were praying. There are others too. Townshend described The Seeker as a song about the frustration of searching for spiritual enlightenment and coming up empty-handed. And Pure and Easy deals with the idea of a note that connects all souls, a concept rooted in his spiritual studies. By weaving these themes into his work, Townshend created a unique space in rock and roll, where the search for the high moved from the clubs and the bars to the soul itself. Whether it's a 3-minute pop hit or a 9-minute epic, Townshend has often put a little bit of the guru between the notes of his songs. For decades, Pete Townshend's solo career was a source of internal conflict, but he's recently begun to embrace that legacy. In March of 2025, He released a definitive remastered box set of his 8 studio albums titled The Studio Albums. The set serves as a reminder that tracks like Give Blood and Slit Skirts were just as vital to his journey as his work with The Who. It's Townshend looking back at his reluctant solo years and finally giving them the archival respect that they deserve. And let's be honest, Let My Love Open the Door remains a masterpiece of pop construction. It represents the soul Pete Townshend hit, a moment where a rock legend allowed himself to be vulnerable and catchy, all in one little song less than 3 minutes long. And it flew up the charts, no matter what the naysayers said about it at first. Surrendering control and finding joy, just like the Mayor Baba taught him. I'm Janda, and this has been Behind the Song. If you like this deeper look into the spiritual side of Pete Townshend's music, give it a like and hit subscribe. Special thanks to Christian Lane for the music you hear on these podcast episodes. You can find me on the air at 97.1 FM The Drive in Chicago and on the way. Much more classic rock and roll. Chicago, get ready to turn up the flavor. Chick-fil-A is bringing the heat with the new Jalapeno Ranch Club sandwich made for bold taste lovers. It starts with a perfectly seasoned, juicy chicken breast on a toasted buttermilk ranch bun. Then it's layered with pepper jack cheese, crisp lettuce, fresh tomato, and pickled jalapenos for just the right kick. But it doesn't stop there. Add strips of sweet and smoky candied bacon, plus a side of creamy jalapeno ranch sauce, and every bite hits that perfect balance of heat, flavor, and crunch. And when you're ready to cool things down, grab a strawberry hibiscus drink, blended with Chick-fil-A lemonade, Sprite, or freshly brewed iced tea for a refreshing twist. The Jalapeno Ranch Club and Strawberry Hibiscus beverages are here for a limited time at participating Chicagoland Chick-fil-A locations. So don't wait. Bold flavor like this doesn't stick around. Chick-fil-A. Eat more chicken.